Welcome to The Story Talks Back. Almost everything that we remember, think about, or imagine is a story. Stories entertain us, inform us, and even define us. They have upsides, and they have downsides. This podcast explores the power of story in every aspect of our lives. I'm Dave Stanton. Thank you for joining us.
Born in Alabama on August 2nd, 1921, Jane Gray Mansfield was the daughter of a charismatic Methodist minister and his quietly devoted wife. In childhood, Jane frequently relocated as her father shifted churches, living in Alabama, Kansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and elsewhere. She began to study piano at an early age and earned her bachelor's in music at Baylor University in Waco, Texas in 1947. In 1951, Jane made the bold move of coming to New York City on her own, determined to make a life as a musician and artist. She studied with the pianist Carlos Bueller, working during the day as a fashion artist and renting piano practice rooms at night at the YWCA and above Manhattan's Roseland Ballroom. She met George Stanton, a promising young chemical engineer, at Grace Episcopal Church in Brooklyn Heights, where she was taking part in a debate on women's proper role in society. They married in 1956 and moved into a carriage house on nearby Hunts Lane. There she had a piano of her own, with George helping to manage her concerts and career. She had moved on to a more connected piano mentor, Beveridge Webster, and worked with him as she prepared for her Carnegie Hall debut in 1958. In 1962, Jane and George had a son, David, after relocating to New Jersey. Jane immersed herself in the local music scene, taking leadership roles in the New Jersey Federation of Music Clubs and the Suburban Music Study Club. She taught for years at Caldwell College, now university, guiding many young pianists and other instrumentalists. She founded a course on women in music and brought a chapter of Mu Phi Epsilon, the music sorority she joined at Baylor, to Caldwell. She also continued to refine her own musical knowledge through lessons with Russian pianist Vladzia Mashka and by earning her master's in music at Montclair State University. Later in life, she took a series of organist and choir director posts, bringing her back to the church, which had been her habitat in childhood. And she continued to work intensively with private piano students. But her biggest sources of pride and joy were her grandchildren, Sarah, born in 1991, and Christopher, born in 1995. Jane died on June 8, 2008, at age 86, from complications of osteoporosis. She is remembered in this program by Rosemary and David Thomasberger and Leslie Heileman, who knew her as students at Caldwell College in the 1970s and remained friends for life. I'm just curious, to start off, can any of you remember the first time you met my mom? What your first impressions of her were, or the first time you remember talking to her or studying with her?
Well, I had to minor in piano. I didn't have a choice. So your mom led me through that. I was a freshman. I don't really remember the first meeting, but she tried and tried and tried to get me good on piano. I played when I was young, but I went to two instruments where I just read a single line. So I was having a very big issue using 10 fingers at one time and reading two stanzas of notes. And I'll just skip to when I had to do a piano test. And I got so frustrated and so bad that I just started crying and I quit. And she definitely patted me on the back, told me I could do it, and got me back in there to get through the rest of the test. So she was always very, very, very supportive.
That's nice. Rosemary or David, do you have any sort of first memories of her?
Yeah, I remember hearing about that supportive nature, but I did not have her as a piano teacher at first. When I was a freshman, I had Sister Jeanne d'Arc, totally different type of teaching, and it wasn't working for me. And so it was a rough time freshman year, but I kept hearing about this wonderful other teacher who I didn't see much. She may have been an adjunct, part-time, I'm not
Yes, she
sure.
was.
And then I think she became full-time later on, but so I had to stick it out with this teacher who was chosen for me, even though I went to the department head and said, it's not a good match. I was not a person to even really speak out about anything. So I really didn't like confrontation like this, but this was bad, a bad match. And so eventually I had just had it. And I guess I found my voice as a sophomore. And I was like, and I saw her in action at the jury. Remember, it was called the jury, Leslie. Yes, isn't that a wonderful way to put a test for the end of the semester test? And I was playing I was accompanying all the singers, and I got to see her in action with her students, and I just pointed at her and said to the department head, I want her. She said, this is not, it's not done that way. It's really, this is a tough situation that you're putting me in because, this is bad. This is going to cause some bad feelings. And I said, it can't work any other way. I don't see how it can work. And she saw that too, the department head. So this January, when we came back, or maybe we came back in February of sophomore year, then oh my goodness, I wanted to kiss her feet. She was just so lovely in my first meeting. And it was a gathering in a room. I'm not sure what that was. I just remember we were all gathered together. So both of my the former teacher and my new teacher, who I hadn't had yet, were in the room. And I was just so happy. That smile. I mean, that smile,
Yeah.
your whole body just relaxed and just enjoyed that smile. And so from there, I had lost my mom 3 years prior. And so I think part of me was also searching for that mom feeling again. And she definitely, she was very maternal with me. But it wasn't all about that, because she was definitely a down to business, but it was different with her. I just never encountered a teacher like that who just had a perfect balance of getting me to do the work, because I wanted to do it my way. And so I don't fault that other teacher so much as just me wanting to do it my way, kind of thing. And because I was not a classical pianist per se. I just didn't want to be pigeonholed that way. And so because I loved all kinds of music, and I just wanted to I saw the benefit in playing all of it, but so did she. And, she just used whatever my interest was to reach me. And and then of course I wanted to do anything she asked me to do. So, I even listened to her favorite composer she talked about all the time. David, you'll probably remember Hector Villa-Lobos.
Yes, yes.
Oh gosh, she wanted me to play, but who can play that way? I mean, I heard her. I watched her. I got to watch the great Jane Stanton play, because she would invite me over to your house once in a while, and I don't know what that was all about. It was just a lucky thing. I think maybe one time there was no heat in the school. So I had my lesson with her. And then the school was closed for holidays, but she still wanted me to come. So a few times, and I remember you passing through, um, on your way to the kitchen or something like that. And oh my goodness, that's when that there was a different smile for you. And I was like, oh, okay, she's very close to
From
him.
what my recollection is, the first time I met your mom was at Rosemary's recital. I was there for it. She and I were going out at the time, and I went backstage afterwards, and I met her, and it was obvious at that point how invested she was in her students. I mean, it was those students belonged to her, and that motherhood thing. She nurtured them. You could tell that. And in talking with Rosemary over the years, I mean, even before that, Mrs. Stanton's name came up all the time. So, I mean, the impact was very evident and obvious. The other thing that I remember, the impressions, was that how much she empowered the students that she worked with, especially the women, that, you weren't second-class citizens, that you were to be dealt with. You were a force to behold, and that came from her. I mean, that's how I'm sure that's how she lived her own life, because she was a very strong woman, from what I could see.
Sure. Do you all have a sense of your relationship with her sort of changing your life trajectory, or that you took a direction or had some ideas that you wanted to pursue because you knew her?
I mean, absolutely. For me, I had no intention to be a teacher. I was a performer, and that's what I had always wanted to do. That's all I thought about. But I saw the joy that she received from teaching, and she said to me, you might find that you're going to perform more as a teacher, which was absolutely true. That's what exactly happened. Exactly. But I wasn't hearing it, and at the time, and I was kind of yesing her to death, and she was okay about that. She just would lay it out there. Sometimes she would have she would say something in ever so gentle a way, but in a caring way. And so, that always stuck with me, the things that she would say to me. And I just, I trusted everything that she, it just made so much sense. I don't know. I just understood. She made me understand everything so easily. It was just a language that, I loved her way of teaching, her language of teaching. So I've tried to copy that, but I'm not as great a teacher as she is. So, but definitely she's in my head when I'm talking to my students, and I talk about her too. And I love that. I think we got the CD of her playing at her funeral, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I have that in my classroom. So my students are very interested. That's your teacher? Because, concert artist. I mean, this is like, yep, I had the famous Jane Stanton.
Nice. Very nice.
Whoa. For me, I had lost my mother at 9 years old, and your mom, Jane, was definitely a woman I looked up to, and she empowered us as women to pursue what we really wanted to pursue, and not listen to others that said, you can't do that, you'll never do that. So she was always a strength in that. And of course, it was still in the women's movement time.
That was very obvious about her.
Yeah. And I went to school from 75 to 79.
I was just thinking back in retrospect that when I was giving voice lessons, I sort of, without, I guess unconsciously, used her as a model of how to be invested in your student and how to help mold the student in the process of the craft, get them to believe in themselves. And I think that's where Jane's biggest strength was, to get that self-belief, because once you get the student to believe in themselves, the rest of it becomes easy. But that's the hard part, get them to believe in themselves. And that's what she was so good at.
I was wondering, is there, you talked about your recitals. I mean, is there a particular piece of music that reminds you of her, or that you really associate in your mind with her, one particular piece?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jardin sous la pluie, Gardens in the Rain by Debussy. She loved that. And it's normally played, I mean, she played it faster than, I just couldn't believe her hands. I could see her hands right now, right, Leslie? Yep.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Just to watch that. But you didn't feel like, well, I can't do, I mean, you just knew you're not going to do that, but still, you just were so proud. This is the person teaching me. Wow, am I lucky? How did I get so lucky? That's how I feel. How this, and for me, I just know that God put her in my life. I just know that he did, because what a gift to have such a talented person with, I mean, with just the best way of teaching, all kinds of personalities. And I'm sure, Leslie, that we were not always.
No, I wasn't a perfect angel, that's for sure.
Well, I'm sure we went into our lesson telling her the latest problems in our lives, and she allowed that, and she listened. That's what I love. She listened, and she wasn't looking at her watch like, wait, come on, we got to get to. Nope. No. She would just transition you from that problem into the music, and you just got lost in her love of the music, even though I didn't understand what she was talking about all the time, because she just connected with, I mean, music was another person that she knew. Like, she was so connected to music. I mean, she was just inside the music. It was just, I think it was going on in her head the whole time. Probably that's how she was able to listen to us belly aching about college. She's listening to Gardens in the Rain.
I remember one thing, Rosemary, that you had told me at your recital was one of the things that she drilled you on in preparation for that was recovery. If something happened, how to,
and something happened,
how to get back to it. And there is another example of something that in my when I was giving voice lessons, I'm always showing the person where are the places you can get back online. You know, if something happens, where can you get back to your focus? And that's always the way we approach the piece of music, because there are some pieces like the Ave Maria where there is no place to get back. Once you're off, you're off, and you're off forever. But other places have little platforms where you can get back to where you need to be. And that's something that I pulled from your mom, is in performing, you got to know how to get back if something goes wrong.
Or move forward.
Yeah.
That was the case for me. I got lost in a Mozart piece, and so she, because my memory was not good, and so she was trying to come up with ways. Leslie, do you remember this, where she would make you know, she'd say, you have to know what chord you're playing. Like, you're playing, and at first I didn't understand this, but then you understood the structure of the piece. If it's in the key of B flat, your first chord, if you line up all those notes on top of, you're playing a B flat chord. Now you're going to the fifth. It's moving. And then after a while, I figured out, okay, so that's how I recovered.
Me, I didn't play chords. I only played a single line.
Oh,
but
true.
Yeah. the key was important.
Yeah.
But what I learned was, like, if I made a mistake, you cannot dwell on it. You have to keep on going forward. You can worry about it when you're done. But
Mhm.
if you place yourself back when you make a mistake, you're never going to finish.
Right.
So that was one thing that she helped me with a lot.
She prepared you for life also. I mean, it wasn't just music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, I had a freak out moment a week before I was messing everything up. I was going backwards and I was freaking out in my piano lesson. And she said, okay, and maybe it was 2 weeks before. She said, you're going to take a week off. I said, what? I have to put in more time. She said, no, I don't want you to touch it. I want you to just use your fingers. And I want you to just have your fingers going. And I want you to read certain sections. And that was a really good thing too, is she would highlight certain sections instead of spending so much time on playing the whole darn thing all the time, but only work on the stuff so it wasn't always fun, but that part, but that was the best thing to say, because that's what you do when you have a problem, when you're troubleshooting. Work on the problem, that don't just, otherwise it's overwhelming. So anyway, I didn't touch it. And she said, go for a walk in the park. And I'm just, I'm having an out of body experience, thinking this is going to be a disaster. What's going on? And I thought I was good, but then we went back, had a few lessons, maybe 3 lessons. It started to come. I understood. She was unflappable. She was not freaking. She never freaked out over it. No, but she cared. You knew she cared. But she was like a coach. I loved her coaching. It's like when you're getting near a performance, because it was exciting,
I was just curious, if she were around today, what do you think she would think about things today? What do you think she would react to, or what would she be doing with herself, do you think?
My gut feeling is she'd be doing the same thing that she was, and preaching the same things of, persistence and getting into the heart of everything that you're doing, because those are stuff that doesn't matter what is happening in the world. Those are the keys to success in anything. That's my gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see her giving lessons online. I mean, if somebody set her up with it, I think she would be all about that, reaching more people, like doing a master class. That's what I think she would have done.
I don't think she'd like the world the way it is today. She was very empathetic. So the world is too full of people who aren't empathetic these days.
Mm-hmm.
I think she would still be teaching. And I don't think it would matter the gender of the student, that she would just be 100% into seeing their success. That's what I think. She'd still be teaching.
Yeah.
Just I really appreciate everybody's time, and just one final question. Is there one thing you would like to say to my mom if she were here now? Anything you would say to her personally, if you could, if you don't mind me asking?
Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Rosemary.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane, so much for opening your heart to me. Because I think you saved me. I think you gave me an avenue to go that was the right way for me to go and enjoy my life and of music. And I really owe that to Jane Stanton.
Leslie?
I would like to thank Jane for giving me the strength to pursue those things that I dreamed about, and just the strength to believe in myself and to believe that I could accomplish what I set out to accomplish. She was a big part of my life in that,
Mm.
and I thank her for that. Stability. She brought me a lot of stability, you know. Just because you could talk to her and Jane, you just helped me put it in perspective instead of always freaking out about everything. So she was a big, big empower of me, and I appreciate it.
Nice. Dave, did you have anything you would say?
Just thank you for being such a shining example of great teaching.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The Story Talks Back is produced and hosted by Dave Stanton. The music you're hearing now was written and performed by Christopher Daydream. The theme music at the beginning of our show is an excerpt from Play by Merlin Twelfhoven, performed by Kronos Quartet as part of their 50 for the Future series. Please subscribe to The Story Talks Back on Podbean and check us out on Instagram. See you next time.